Hello. I've just been to the Edinburgh College of Art end of year show, which was fantastic. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I'm going to talk a bit about tips on visiting the exhibition at the end of each year. Be showing you some lovely artworks like these coming up. Also, what are my highlights? See, it's quite an event in the annual year of art events in Edinburgh. While I'm talking, I will be having my eyes darting around the place, which would be really rude in a conversation, but trust me, I want to keep looking at my notes so that I don't waffle for a million hours. And I also want to be looking at the screen, which has got details about the particular artist. The traffic noises you hear are, of course, people I have paid who are stunt drivers to drive up and down outside the window and give the effect of being in the city. How to go around visiting the end of year exhibition. First of all, pace yourself. It is quite tiring. There's not enough seats to sit down as you go around. The top floor at the back of the building does have some built-in platforms which are handy, and I did bring with me a small bottle of water, which was a lifesaver, and the person I was going around the exhibition with didn't have water and was starting to feel the need of it. It is quite a strain on your thinking and your eyes, because everything you see, you're going, what do I think about this? What do I feel about it? What do I notice about it? What does it remind me of? And your brain is working hard, and your emotions are also as well, and you're trying to understand, what are they saying and why? Is this good? Is it derivative? Is it worth remembering? And something I found really helpful was to pick up the little student business cards as I went through, because you can't remember the names after the first couple of rooms. You just start to see more and more that you want to remember. The great thing is that you can check them off against the Edinburgh website for the show. And one of the best ways I find, you can either look by department or straightforwardly A to Z of the students. So if you can't come to the show, you can see that. And if you did go to the show and you saw something you liked and you can't remember what the person was or their details, that will help. But the cards are great because you can then immediately go and start linking with the artist on social media. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. Right, what caught my eye? Well, I tended to go towards students who I felt had done a lot of work, made it easier to see what they were doing, what they were about. So I want to mention Claire Cooper, Invitation to an Unwelcome Guest. I had a really long conversation with her. Her work is similar to Alice Neal in a sense, but she also puts beside each picture an extract of a conversation she's had with the people who are sitting in for her painting. And so that's a mixture of words and visions, which obviously interests me a lot anyway. And I had a really good conversation with her about that. She won an award which is going to take her to Florence, and that's really exciting for her because, of course, you have the corridor of all the portraits and to look forward to. And since she's a portrait artist, she's going to get obviously a lot out of that time. So do keep looking at her work, because it's going to bear the fruits of that in due course. Claire Cooper. I want to speak to you about Tallulah Batley. And she produced a work which was an invitation to go to her little pink parlour. And she had a BA, just completed a BA Hons in art. The great thing about her work is that she actually produced a space you could walk into that was totally enclosed, and on the front it had a really welcoming plaque talking about being invited to go through, and welcomed Pink Parlour 2024 by Tallulah Batley. You're cordially invited to enter and enjoy the Pink Parlour. Feel free to arrange your own salon hang in the little green box. Stay as long as you please. Well, that's just a wonderful invitation. The first artist I recommended has invitation to an unwelcome visitor. This is obviously a welcome visitor, and it's very inviting as well. So inside the little pink room, there's a little like doll's house of green, which has little stick-on pictures that you can move around then as you wish. So she's inviting you to be your own curator, but also to be in a space that is surrounded by a salon, kind of hang, the old style where it was floor to ceiling, just almost overwhelming pictures. There's a lot of work in this enclosure. It's fun and welcoming. I was impressed by how much work she had done and how fun it was, how quirky it was, and as I say, it's really, really welcoming as well. So I look forward to seeing what she will do in the future. For sculpture, I thought Christian Sloane was astonishing. Very confident works. I like debris, partly the fact that whenever I went into the room, there was a white cube, basically amazing, huge windows, and the light was streaming in, and it just beautifully lit up the sculpture, gave it that three-dimensionality of good light. But I also just think his work is very confident, and it's winning awards for him already, which is great. Alice Wheeler caught my attention. I mean, the minute you walk in the door, she's got a projection which is on top of a part of the Pietà, kind of by Michelangelo, but she's made it into a modern body and figure that looks alive almost. So that's startling. So she has just completed photography BA Hons, and there was a significant amount of work, even where you see the projection, the main projection, then there's like a little room alongside of extra smaller pieces by her as well. So she's produced a lot of work, and she has won, she's a nominee for the New Blood Emerging Art Prize. Good on her for that. Now, Jillian Lee Adamson. Remember that name, Jillian Lee Adamson. Jillian spelled with a J. She has a set of works called Metaphorical Cells, and although they are mysteriously under painting, BA Hons, they are actually little pieces of embroidery done on material that vanishes whenever it's washed, and therefore the web remains of all the little stitches she has made. Very intricate, very delicate, also worked in quite delicate colours usually. Got talking to her, she has been fantastic at spending long hours by her space with her work inside it. She's also made a book by the same name, Metaphorical Cells, got it produced by a graphic designer. It looks amazing. Her actual listing of her work, she's a mature student, her listing of her work on the website for the students in the show is astonishing, full of range and very interesting, and her, what she calls her real world experience is total stand-up comedy gold. Do not miss. Great to talk to, very interesting, love her work. Whenever I arrived, a couple were just leaving, and I said, what's worth seeing? And they said the standout for them was her work. If I was going to buy any paintings from the show, they would probably be by Agnes Roberts. There was an entire wall of her work. Some quite large, some small, all interesting, very colourful, vibrant palette, which I thought was good. And I thought her work was prolific. And I look forward to seeing what she's going to do whenever she actually leaves college, because she did all this work simply for a BA Hons, which is astonishing. And I think she's one to watch. For illustration, I absolutely want to recommend Yutong Liu, who's going forward to do some more postgrad work. The amount of work in that one stand is astonishing, and it's all really high quality. So there are paintings of Chinese, what would be Chinese traditional rock painting done on paper, which show a circus, but the performers are humans and the viewers are animals. And apparently this is protesting about some zoos in China that would use animals to perform. So she reverses the roles. So you have little paintings. Then you have a film animation made up called Beauty Duty, which is against the pursuing a standardised form of beauty. That's 2 minutes. You can see that on YouTube. Then there's a further animation installation using white fabric called chess selves, a white fabric cardboard and projector, and then there's a frame by frame animation called Fast Food Era. There's a children's picture book. These are all completely different things, and it's called Why Apples Fall, inspired by Newton's story of the apple, and it also has little badges as well, and wonderful. So the awards here I'm looking at, and I'm not surprised, shortlisted in Batsford Prize Competition 2023, and also in 2024, longlisted in the World Illustration Awards 2024, skills and experience. There's a lot there, as well as working with Edinburgh International Book Festival. It's just fantastic. There's printing skills as well, intaglio and lino cut and so forth. Just goes on and on and on and on and on. Fantastic. Just so outstanding, even in an outstanding field. The room was particularly good for illustration and for graphic design, and there's also a shop where you can buy some of the products as well, which is useful for students, and it gives you something to go with. And I really want to encourage us all to think of ourselves as art patrons. The couple I had a conversation with who were just leaving, I was mentioning this to them and they were interested, because what we can do, we can visit exhibitions, of course. We can put pictures of those on social media. We can take business cards of the artists we like and follow them on social media, interact with them, consider buying. If you set aside £20 a month for a year, you will have £240 to purchase something with. If you buy something directly from a student or an artist, you will have much less to pay, because a gallery that represents, if you buy through a gallery, it will add 50%, take 50% of it, so that the price is double and the artist is still not getting more. The whole thing really is to have this mindset of constantly becoming an art patron, and to recognise that that's a possibility. That once you've linked in with a student, that you can, an artist, you can give them your feedback, that you can find out more about them, sign up for their newsletter, and in a few years you're going to start getting, they'll start getting solo shows if they're fresh out of uni, and do go along to that, and really to give them the oxygen of publicity, so that you're kind of working towards their publicity without them having to employ you, that you're sending out notes saying, oh, they're having a launch and so forth. It all helps. Okay, I really want to warmly recommend Star Singh, who does graphic design and is what they call a conceptually focused designer. They had a fantastic range of clocks, all set to be linked to anxieties of designers. So the first one, for example, was counting down to deadline. Another one was counting down your actual usefulness and ability as you get older, and different things. So you have that row. Felix Charlton, fine art masters, who did a series of doors, and there were a few words on them, and then the words varied across. I do love something that is a work of art, but you can actually play with it when you get home, and his has infinite varieties of that. Well, not infinite, but you can have the doors open, slightly closed. You can just, as you're walking past, just sort of flip a few open and down, and then they're different. The artwork looks slightly different each time. In the textiles, I picked out Erin MacLeod from BA On's The Future is Olach, where she had dyed textiles with natural elements and then made them into, knitted them up into fabric. And I think what she did, she knitted them up, then she dyed them, and then she rewound them and reknitted them again so that the pattern was slightly different on the garment. Emily Taylor, BA Ons in photography, she made all these little figures, like little red angry minions, and I just find that very amusing. Carla Mazzolini, graphic design, she bitmapped a font from her grandmother's sewing of lettering, so it's both old and yet very new looking. It looks kind of like a computer font, but it's based on that, and I love that. I thought it was a very clever mix of old and new. so we're getting near the end now. I just wanted to make a comment about derivatives, being derivative. And I can spot that, obviously, if you know history of art. If you're like me and you have been reading history of art books for years, you kind of spot, and watching documentaries about it, you kind of spot, and going to exhibitions, you spot the resemblances. And at first I would have thought, oh, this is so derivative, and they're not advanced, they're just copying almost. But no, what I actually realised more is that this is working through their influences, and that everybody, whatever art you're in, is going to have somebody who really inspires you, and you inevitably look at a lot of their work and you copy it. You tend to develop a voice of whatever art you are that is very, very like the person you admire. And then as you get older, you start to develop your own different points and your own interests, your own little objects or places or things that you get interested in creep in more and more, and it becomes much more you and distinctive. But I think I'm just more realistic now to say that's probably the kind of work to be seen at early graduate level, and it just takes time to develop your own style. So I think a lot of these works, a lot of these artists are going to be even more interesting in 5 years' time, and in 10 years' time they will probably be completely their own person, and they will only be faint echoes of who inspired them in the first place. So I've given you lots of different examples of work that I thought was interesting in Edinburgh College of Art this year. If this is just a tiny sampling, do have a look at the website they currently have up with all the artists' works and information about them. Bye for now.